And so the sophistication level has been enabled by the same technology, the same cheap computing power that you can use for good. The bad guys can use it for bad as well.
Interesting. And I'm assuming you guys have figured out a way to kind of help people navigate around some of this bad bot activity.
Yeah, that is our core business and our core competency, is helping identify the difference between a real person and a computer program pretending to be a real person.
All right, so AI and cognitive computing, huge upside, but there's a little risk, so you got to be careful as you go. Make sure that you're protecting. All right, guys, let's move on to our second trend for today of the collaborative consumption. All right, so the sharing economy, also known as collaborative consumption, is a peer-to-peer marketplace in which suppliers, in most cases, these are everyday people, are exchanging or renting out excess capacity, whether that be a bedroom or an entire apartment or, in some cases now, an evening meal. Now, while the sharing economy does involve sharing, it also involves commercial transactions, right? So people are making real money leveraging and selling their excess capacity based on the fact that there's technology available to do that today. Now, in many cases, the economic impact of this sharing is a zero-sum game, in which the sharing service is acting as an alternative to something that was previously available as a paid service. But in some cases, collaborative consumption is both cannibalizing existing business and creating new demand. Now, the best example of this, I think, and there's a number of them, but the best example of this cannibalization exists in the lodging sector. As one example, we looked at an analysis of lodging suppliers in Austin, Texas, which has a fairly high density of Airbnb properties, and we found that for each 10% increase in Airbnb supply, it drove a 0.35 decrease in monthly revenue for hotels, which translates to 13% of Austin's monthly room revenue. Now, that's real impact. Bob, I want to turn it over to you. We're clearly seeing an impact of the sharing economy, this collaborative consumption, but what technological advances have unleashed this beast?
Well, a key to this is the ability to have transparent communications between all the parties. So with the advent of social networking, we're seeing people talking to others and wanting to share not just conversations, but facilities and services. They also can use the technology to evaluate whether the opportunity is a good one, whether it's a good place to stay. But the owner of the property can also use technology to determine if the proposed or planned guest is a good guest. If they have a reputation on the web that you don't want that person to rent your apartment. We also have online payment systems that facilitate the transfer of funds, something that is often overlooked but very important.
So it's a confluence of things that are driving this collaborative consumption.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, Bob, where's this headed in the near term? There have been some regulatory actions taken against the sharing economy since we're on this topic. Do you think they can stop or significantly alter the growth trajectory here?
No, Tony, I think the train's left the station here. If you take a look at New York City and the density of Airbnb properties available for rent, this is really incredible. Almost 28,000. So that is just an amazing figure. And with that kind of consumer push, regulatory folks have got to find a way to accommodate it.
All right, so this is not going anywhere, but do you envision a time in the near term where traditional travel distributors or the GDS would incorporate this inventory?
Absolutely. If they don't start incorporating this inventory, they're going to be missing a bet in terms of the opportunity for commissions. As the growth of use of these things expands, then definitely the distribution system should take advantage of them.
All right, is this a technical thing, Bob, a business thing, or both? I mean, is there something technical that has to happen, or do you think this is more of a business issue?
At this point, it's more of a business issue. The connectivity is relatively easy to do from all of the GDSs.
All right, good. Rami, want to bring you back in. How are you seeing trends like collaborative consumption and mobile within the context of securing your online operations?
So a lot of the collaborative consumption economy is happening across mobile. And what's interesting now is the bad guys are switching to mobile too. We're seeing a surge year over year, over 10x increase in malicious mobile traffic, higher than ever before. And as more and more people turn to mobile, we're thinking that the bad guys are going to continue to do that as well. So what does this mean? This means that as companies emerge to help take advantage of this collaborative consumption, they have to be very cognizant and to secure their mobile presence. You know, Bob mentioned that buyers and sellers have this reputation now that they can go back and forth, but the companies that are enabling these collaborative consumptions have to worry about their reputation too, with the fact that it's all tied into online funds transfers, and people are in a new way inviting strangers into their homes. Any kind of security breach could be a huge red flag for the consumer. So making sure that your not only web presence but your mobile presence as a vendor in this economy is very important.
Great, good stuff. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to the super trend. And before we do that, Bob, tell me why do you call this a super trend?
Well, because we had a number of things going on, and each one in themselves does not constitute a trend, but together they appear to be aiming towards building the seamless travel experience. So we decided to as a super trend and have two sub-trends that contribute to the building of the seamless travel experience.
All right, great. All right, now for travelers, it's all about easy, convenient, even a fun experience in each phase of the trip life cycle, from dreaming through sharing, regardless of how, when, or where they interface with technology and content, right? That's what it's all about. But Bob, the experience is a long way from there, right? The content necessary for effective travel planning is both fragmented and difficult to shop, which drive consumers to visit multiple content sources before making travel decisions. So when you look at this, despite all these technologies, these advancements in technology and the aggregation of content, it's still a challenge, right?
Absolutely. It's even compounded by the fact that we have built a world around apps. So each of those apps is generally driven by a supplier or a provisioner of services, and they don't talk to each other.
And there's also the challenge, Bob, because some of this, the content itself, I mean, we sometimes think, it's the booking content, but it's also the information. It's informational content, it's booking content, it's all of it coming together, right? I mean, that's part of the big challenge here, right?
That's right. We have booking content and we have informational content, but very seldom do they meet.
Yeah, and they're also sourced in different places. Some on the web, as you say, some on an app, some on your mobile. So that adds to the complexity and the challenge of this particular trend.
That's right.
Now, Bob, when we focus in on the trip, just specifically about the trip itself, we really still have a long way to go, don't we?
We do. The fragmentation seems to be getting worse, not better.
So give us an idea of the travel today. What are some of the challenges?
Well, here's we all know about long lines and hassles at the airport and delays and so on. But even at the beginning of the travel planning process, here's a result of a Google search for a suite hotel with free Wi-Fi. So you have to be very careful about what content you're going to get and pursue.
It's actually a very nice place, but the reason why I never stayed there again is because I couldn't get room service. All right, let's Rami, I want to come down to you, because again, this becomes a challenge. Anytime there's fragmentation, what are you seeing, kind of some of your customers, dealing with it, because it's all over the place?
This is a really interesting data point that came out of our annual bot report. When you think about traditional web content, search engines have traditionally been the unifying force, and they go out and have a pretty heavy presence across digital publishers or online directories. But in travel, search engines are very limited in what they can do, and this goes back to Bob's point. There's really no unifying force right now that exists to tie all the different travel brands and sites and services together. It's such a fragmented market, and even the search engines haven't been able to come up with a way to unify it all.
Right. So while this is something that everybody is trying to get to, we're not nearly there yet.
No.
All right, well, but if we do, though, there's huge upside, right? So if you get it right, the upside's really high. People are absolutely asking for, seeking a better experience. When they get it, they convert at a much higher rate. So the reward is there, even though the investment might be significant. All right, let's move into some of the sub-topics within the super trend. The first one being content, and content remains king here. I don't know that anybody would argue with that. Content is king, and really nothing has changed on that front. Content still remains king. But Bob, if that's the case, are those with the content the automatic winners?
Absolutely. You've got to have some substance to be part of the travel value chain.
So content is important. Now, Bob, when we get into managing the content, however, if content's king, who's the queen to king content, Bob? Is there a device, or is there something that you see in the future that's going to be the kind of hand in glove to the content?
Well, we're seeing an experiment, actually a new business from IBM using their Watson machine and the cognitive computing platform to do travel planning. That's a company called Wayfarer. And that could be an interesting experiment to see to the point where if it can combine and catalog lots of unstructured content into meaningful information, that'll set the bar for a new way of looking at travel content.
Okay, and is there a device that becomes the best aggregator or displayer or accessor to the content? In your, is this really about mobile? Is this where this is all going to manifest and kind of the content's going to be most available?
It's going to have to be available to a variety of devices, and we'll talk a little bit later about the different wearables that are emerging. So suppliers of content are going to have to use responsive design to fit various form factors and the consumer more than they ever have in the past. And so it is about mobility, but not necessarily the mobile platform itself.
Yeah, so the content guys shouldn't be resting on their laurels. They've got to be figuring out where they should make the content available, because that's also another part of the challenge.
That's right.
All right, now, Rami, you're in the business of keeping content secure. So how challenging has this become, given this landscape that's really changing and evolving?
Tony, you're talking about how content is king. And whoever owns the content is really winning the game right now. But that also means that people are after it. It's the most sought after possession right now. And if you sit on your laurels, if you like you say, and not protect it, then you can very quickly lose your kingship. The bots that are out there, the people that are the upstarts, are looking at more and more aggressive ways of finding new content, aggregating it together, and really leveraging what's already out there as opposed to using or creating new content. So having a solution in place that is able to prevent content thieves from taking your content, knowing the difference between real people across your web infrastructure and automated scrapers, web scrapers that are going to go out there and steal your content, is one of the most important things to make sure that you protect what is driving the growth in most businesses now. For example, one of our customers, travel brands, has come to us to do exactly that. It wasn't just the content, the descriptions, the images of their hotels and travel destinations that they were worried about, but it was their pricing intelligence. Using content, it goes well beyond just descriptions and images. Content can mean pricing. It can mean your SEO markup. It can mean a lot of different things, and people are aggregating that in a lot of different ways. So travel brands, who's Canada's largest private travel company, was facing this day in and day out, and the scrapers were act so aggressive across their site that it actually took their sites down at times. And so they had to come to us to find a solution to protect that content and keep their site healthy.
Excellent. It's really amazing when you think about how complex this is. You think you're sitting in the right place, but there's always something that's going to challenge that environment. So, all right, let's move on to our final sub-bullet within the sub-trend, the super trend, building the seamless travel experience. And that's where we talk a little bit about technology making traveling easier. Now, Bob, tell us where this is most likely to manifest itself in the near term.
Well, you'd be looking at technology that's wearable or portable or mobile to shop for flights, to get destination information, to get notification of departure gates, flight delays, and so on. Local transportation, connection to Uber, or compatibility with iBeacon, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Now, Bob, one that you think is interesting, I'm kind of a little bit of a, I'm not sure this one's going to hit it, but wearables, interesting. The kind of the bracelet today. Tell us more about it, and if you really do see it having an impact in the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about watches and the Apple Watch, but here is an interesting device that actually projects the results onto the arm. So it uses the arm as a screen. So this may not catch on, but certainly it's going in the direction of the future.
All right. Now, one that we saw fairly early was Google Glass, but it seems to have fallen a little flat. Bob, do you see them being a big part of the solution set here?
I think Google has retracted the Glass because it didn't meet their expectations. But I think there'll be Son of Glass coming along soon, and I think that the idea of the heads-up display and the computing in the glass is something that's going to happen.
You heard it here first. You don't have any inside information with that Son of Glass comment, do you?
No comment.
Okay. All right, Bob, talk about, one of the biggest frustrations for people that travel all the time is just staying charged up, right? So this is a good example of what we could be looking at. Tell us a little bit about it.
That's right. And here you walk into the room and automatically charges your device. So this is actually technology in the lab at MIT today. And so it won't be long before we don't have to worry about finding a wall socket in the middle of a busy airport.
Yeah, so wherever we go, we'll be standing around a charging station. That's kind of the ideal we're moving towards.
That's right.
All right, now, by its very nature, travel takes people to different locations, and as a result, we're seeing a host of location-based services emerge. And as you expect, this becomes more prevalent. Bob, give us your take there.
Well, location-based services have been around for a long time, but what's new is that you can now find people's location indoors, inside malls or airports or wherever. So we're seeing an expansion of the use of location as a key index for content. Okay.
And one of the other things we talk about in the report, some very interesting uses of augmented reality. Bob, how's this going to impact the travel landscape again next 12 months?
Well, augmented reality is really kind of a lot of fun to use because it combines internet content with visual pictures. This is a real company, Find, and this is an example of their product. So if it can reach the market and gets good acceptance, then we'll see a lot more of these products.
Yeah, I think we've seen some of the hoteliers are actually starting to use augmented reality to create an experience about, for their property. For someone who's obviously not going to take the old familiarization trip, you'll actually be able to see it and have a little bit of an experience of the actual property. So there's some stuff happening right now in this area.
Right.
Bob, you referenced beacons before. Tell us a little bit about what a beacon is, and then how impactful you think they're going to be this year.
A beacon is a low-powered device that provides a Bluetooth connectivity to mobile devices. So it can sense where you are. It can send you messages. It can send you updates. It can send you ads or coupons. So it can welcome you into a retail establishment. So all of these things are possible with these low-cost beacons. And it's a real sleeper because it's not something anybody anticipated, and it's got huge opportunity.
Well, it's got significantly for retailers, right? I mean, you can actually identify the closest Starbucks and present an offer to somebody. You can actually do that today, right, Bob, leveraging beacons and location.
That's right, absolutely. And in an airport, you can the duty-free counter can offer you a special as you walk by, trying to give you a handout as you walk in.
Yeah, okay. Now, finally, Bob, this is not just happening in travel. The Internet of Things has been around for a while. That I think is probably going to fuel some of this, no?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because you are able to track almost anything electronically. It's a machine-to-machine capability that will allow you to do track smart bag tags, detect line length, and a number of other things, all transparently. So it is expected to be, by 2022, a $7 trillion industry.
$7 trillion, that's with a T.
Yes.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. Thank you for going through the trends. As we like to do on these, we do want to ask a polling question of our audience. So for all of those of you who have been participating all along, we'd love for you to jump right in here. So we're going to ask a polling question to our audience. What do you see as your biggest challenge in the next year? So we're talking 2015 to 16. Would it be A, leveraging social media, B, developing or implementing a mobile strategy, C, big data and predictive analytics, D, dealing with the explosion in end-user devices, E, protecting against unwelcomed bots? I think Ronnie's going to vote on that one. And then F, security. Well, he might split his vote. And then, or G, all of the above. So if you guys, if you all wouldn't mind, just please casting your vote. We're going to have that open for a couple minutes. Now, $7 trillion upside. Ronnie, I'm sure the investments are being made on the security side. Are they following? So while it's a great opportunity upside, you also got to be protective on the downside, no?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a really interesting environment where we're seeing an influx of investment come into security across the board, whether it's travel specific or general web security. It's a big hot ticket item right now for investors.
Interesting. All right, so let's publish let's see what we got on the poll. Now let's go back here. So let's see. Looks like the number one response was big data, predictive analytics, followed by all of the above. All right, so our audience is feeling very concerned about everything. Not that surprising. Not that surprising. All right, gentlemen, time for the Q&A. Let's see what we've got out there. If you've got a question, remember you can put it into the Q&A bar and send it out. Let's see what we've got. Okay, we do got one, very basic one. Rami, this one's for you. Is web scraping legal?
I guess the answer is depends. It depends on where you live and where you operate your business. In the United States, the courts in the past 6 to 8 years have come down against web scraping. They've pretty heavy-handedly said that it is illegal if you don't provide value back to the website. But in Europe, Ryanair last year lost a court battle against the site scraper. So it really depends on jurisdiction to jurisdiction.
Got it. Okay. Bob, I got one for you. The future of travel distribution, is it worldwide, U.S., European, Asian, or what? For sure, the problems may seem the same, but the solutions are not. So, Bob, first off, is this a global problem, right? I mean, that's pretty basic.
Definitely a global problem, yes.
Are the challenges different market to market?
The markets vary in their degree of maturity. And as such, then the challenges are track the degree of maturity in the market. Okay.
Another question for you, Bob. When all of this new innovation is taken in full, what do we think is the likely impact on the distribution universe? It's got a part two here. Will it challenge the entrenched leadership position of existing players and chip away at the folks like Expedia, Priceline dominance, and create a more efficient marketplace for suppliers to potentially cut out distributors or something else entirely. So long question there, but first one, is this likely to have an impact on the distribution universe, and what impact do you see it having?
Well, to the extent, for example, Uber and Airbnb are having on the travel ecosystem, then they also affect the distribution universe. So those results carry over. As far as defining the future, I think that we are now seeing that the OTAs are legacy suppliers, and I think there's going to be an opportunity for people either to grow into new content and new distribution techniques, or be left in the dust and be still considered these legacy old legacy suppliers.
Interesting. Okay. Gentlemen, it's 35 minutes after the hour. We promised our audience that we would go for 35 minutes, and I can't believe it, but we've already done that. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to technology trends, the opportunity is really in your hands. We hope today's presentation and the bigger report will help guide you on your journey. If you'd like more information, you can go to www.focusrite.com. This report is there and a bunch of other information as well, so please feel free to do that. Rami, you talked about it a couple times. If our audience wanted to learn more about the bad bot landscape, that report you referenced a couple of times, how can they go about getting their hands on it?
Yeah, so any of the audience members can go to www.distillnetworks.com and download the report, but we'll also make sure to follow up with all the audience to send them a link to be able to directly download the report so that they have it right in their inbox.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that very generous offer to our audience. All right, gentlemen, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Rami. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. All attendees will receive a follow-up email within a few days. This email will include the presentation deck we used today, as well as a recording of the online event. Now, for even more information on social media and what it is doing within travel, please join us on June 4th for this Focusrite webinar that's going to have Managing Global Social Intelligence. And we're presenting that in conjunction with SDL. Now, after this webinar ends, please do us a favor and complete our brief online survey to share your feedback. It helps us quite a bit to get a sense of what's working and what might not, or what our audience might want to see there. So I want to thank everyone for joining today. Again, the webinar deck and recording will be emailed in a couple of days. And if you'd love to be a subscriber, we'd love to hear from you. So just send us an email at sales@focusrite.com. Thanks very much for joining. And this is Tony DiStolfo signing off.